From working in a big company like Meta, previously Facebook, to starting his own business, Wei has experienced it all. And today we will talk about remote work, about working in big companies, starting your own company, and the future of AI. Hi, Wei. Could you tell us about what you do and why you do it?
Hi, Sirarpi. Thanks for having me on. And thanks for the introduction. I think zooming out, I would largely describe myself as someone that's just expanding my experiences and growing as much as possible. I went through a PhD program because I feel like that's what society and the culture and my experiences made me want to do. And then I had like kind of a mental breakdown and a lot of depression and stress. And I realized that wasn't the path I wanted to choose to continue. And from that point on, I switched my mindset from like a safety mindset of getting my education and being a linear mindset to more of a growth mindset of making sure I grow and expand in any way possible. I ended up at Meta, which is great. And pretty well paid, really smart people, but then realized that my growth was still stagnant, and limited. What the company finds important and my impact was really minimal, as a single contributor in Meta. So I wanted to expand, opportunities for growth. And I realized that entrepreneurship is really the best way of kind of challenging yourself. I decided to take a huge risk for that. For the first year, my bank account was just in drastic free fall, and I had to take out a lot of savings to pay for my expenses, and I had to change my lifestyle. It paid off really well. So now I have two companies I'm working on. One is an AI and tech consultancy, and then one is a AI marketing SaaS software called Contact AI. And both of which offers me different avenues for growth.
That's incredible. You have a really incredible journey, and I would like to know what were the main challenges. It's really difficult to experience this kind of a breakdown of understanding who you are, where you are going, and what you want from your personal and professional life, and then switching from something really consistent to something challenging. What did you experience, and how did you come to this conclusion that this is enough, this is it, I want to stop doing all of this and start my own
Good
journey?
question. I think I do a lot of meditation. I do a lot of reflection. So I think all of these challenges are under the bucket of like personal development. Everything in life is should be under personal development, right? We're not just doing career for career's sake. We're not earning money for money's sake. Everything we do is to support us as people. I think a huge challenge that I had to realize was what is important to me and how do I want to live my life. And for a long time, I wasn't reflecting as much, and I feel like I was a robot, just doing what society and what my immediate surroundings and people immediate to me thinks is important for me to do. And a lot of these are also motivated by trauma and childhood needs, right? The need for security, the need for financial success, and what success meant to me and to my family, to my parents at that stage. And the more I encounter difficulties, the more I traverse in life, the more I realize that I need to gain a lot of self-awareness of who I am and what's important to me. Um, the mental breakdown, the mental health aspect of it was really difficult, but it's also one of the best things that's ever happened to me, right? So it allowed me the opportunity to reflect on what's important and allowed me resources to figure out how to improve my mental health and how to improve myself, and how to use my experiences to improve others. So I think the most challenging things is encountering these uh downfalls or these breaking points, and then being able to use that to turn it around into opportunities to examine yourself and examine your growth, right? I think that's the most challenging part. Now zooming in, technical wise, I think a huge hugely important pivotal moment for me is realizing that I am capable and that I am smart. There was a lot of abuse and in grad school during my PhD, and a lot of my confidence was eroded. And I think that applies to everyone too, realizing that you are capable and you are smart and you are worthwhile, and that you have the capability to take care of yourself when things get rough, right? Um, so have building a strong foundation of of your worth and your capability and your value allows you to take more risks. That was a huge pivotal moment that, hey, I'm smart, and if I can encounter difficulties, I'll just turn those into opportunities to learn, and I'll welcome any difficulties in life because I've demonstrated success in being able to turn difficulties into opportunities and learn from them, and realizing I'm capable of doing that allowed me to take a lot of risks. So I dropped out of my PhD program and I went home to live with my parents for like a year to recover. I was like on the couch, and which was a huge breaking point for me because I went from number three engineering school in the country, doing a PhD there, to living on the couch in my parents' home, for over a year or so. My identity was who I think I was completely destroyed. So I had to rebuild my identity from the ground up. But I was successful in that, and I had rebuilt my intelligence, and I realized my intelligence and my confidence from that. So I used that as a kind of anchor for me to know that I'm capable of any additional challenges. And with that, I was able to welcome more risks and more difficulties, right? So I built myself up. I ended up getting a position at Meta, as a data scientist. And for me, that was a huge testimonial of my own capabilities, right? Then when that route doesn't seem to be the highest ROI for growth anymore, I realized that I need to take another risk, but I'm confident that I can take that risk, because of my history. So then I decided to leave, and focus on entrepreneurship again, because I want to expand my growth opportunities and I want to become a better version of myself.
During this time I was thinking, wow, what a journey, and especially this time of like connecting with these people who are, you have to be with those people, you have to learn with those people. So this is the environment that you cannot change, but it's really beautiful the way that you just paused for a second and asked you a question like, hey, these are those other people saying this about me, but who I am really. And it's really important to shut your ears to those naysayers and understand yourself, like truly understand yourself. And from this, I want to ask a question about networking, because I know that networking plays a very important role in every
Mhm.
specialist's life. How does your network help you? Like, do you have people in your life who empower you or who make you a better version of yourself?
We are social beings, so we need social groups for support. And it's within our DNA to flourish with connections, and there is a huge need for human connections and depth of human connections. But also you want to make sure you pick the right people to surround yourself with. I think finding the right people and being able to say that I do need help from others and I do need support from others, finding the right people and finding the right resources to help you with your journey and inspirations for like the route that you want to go. That was really important for me, personally. So for me, it was finding the right meditation teacher, finding the right therapist, finding refuge for my family and having them as support, finding the right friends that are friends with me from no matter what, even if I don't get my PhD, and being able to realize that I am more when I'm with my peers. Professionally, I think uh, it's also been really important. My co-founder, Gabe, and I, like we co-founder for the Contact AI, we met serendipitously and we realized that we are very aligned with our personal and career aspirations. So we started working together, and he's been a huge factor in my personal improvement and exploration. And then Sirarpi, you too, right? Like meeting you kind of serendipitous too, realize that we are very aligned and that I also feel very inspired in the way you work, the growth mentality that you have, as such a enjoyable person. So these connections have really helped me improve how I see myself and can encourage me for my growth as a person in career. One last thing I'll add to that is, I think to network, it's fundamentally, it's not about, oh, expanding your network and selling something to someone. You have to actually appreciate people. You actually have to see the best in someone. You actually have to be willing to be vulnerable and connect with them on a human level, right? That makes networking a lot more enjoyable rather than just, I'm trying to do this for sales. I'm trying to do this in some way benefit me in the future, but actually enjoy establishing deep human connections and willing to establish that. Um, I think that's always been the thing that helped me with my networking, and seeing human as humans and trying to appreciate the different aspect of someone I'm connecting with and be vulnerable. Yeah.
What are the main challenges that you have in your day-to-day activities?
So juggling multiple things at once. I mean, I think it's not just about your career, having multiple companies that you work with, right? But also there's parts about work, there's parts about personal life, and there's parts about stuff outside, like spirituality and therapy and self-growth, etc. All of these things that we deem valuable, important, we have to kind of juggle. So identifying what's important to you, identifying the aspect of your work that gives you the greatest ROI, like what's actually the most important to you right now? What's the most important thing to drive you to the next phase? And how are these things measured? And how do I get there? Right. So instead of juggling like 10 things for each company all at once, finding one or two things that's the most important that can get you to the next stage. And another thing is a result multiplier. So something that it's not just that's scalable. That's something help you scale your operations, right? So maybe something to do with standardizing and templatizing your operations so then it can be done a lot more seamless. Maybe something to do with AIs, right? Like writing scripts that can help you automate a lot of the work that you do. Maybe something to do with your ability to focus and your ability to concentrate. So like meditation is really important for me because that's a multiplier. I spend an hour meditating a day, and with that hour of meditation, I can basically perform twice as I can be twice as productive, as most as if I wasn't meditating and my mind's more distracted. Challenges of remote work. Again, I think a huge thing about me is I crave depth of connection. So I think it's hard for me to connect with people via remotely. For me, I have to make sure I get out of the house and I have in-person communities and in-person events I attend to improve that connection. But also for my contractors and my employees, I also have to make sure I have frequent meetings with them. And then I talk to them about their day and get to know them as a person and not just someone that does work. And appreciate them as human beings, right? So that kind of helps with my need for human connections. It's also very easy to not work and just slum or take naps and distract yourself with stuff. So I think I've learned that I need to take breaks and move. So I'm also a certified yoga instructor. So just doing some sort of yoga, some sort of movement, go for walks in between long sessions helps a lot.
Yeah, so basically, you're good at organizing your day and week. Going back, what would you tell yourself if you could just start over? How would you start over having all of this knowledge that you have today?
I would tell myself, Wei, you're doing great. This is all part of the process. You're smart and you're enough. A lot of our striving and our need for success is to prove to others and to prove to ourselves that we are enough and we're capable. A lot of our importance on our career is placed on monetary returns as a proxy for where we are in the society and for our status as a person. within the status of a person, and I think that's not the right thing to strive for. Um, so I think um, my upbringing, my childhood has always been focused on education because we were from very, very poor um, first generation college student. I was a first generation college student from an immigrant family. I'm an immigrant myself. We used to live in, my parents were like working restaurants as waitress and cook, and we would live in the basement of the restaurant owner. And we barely have any money to survive. So for us, money was the most important thing. To us, money was what gave us freedom and was the only metric for success that we thought. So, and then education was the only way to financial freedom and that abundance and monetary success. So we were hyper focused in education and nothing else, which I realized towards the end that was not the best way to go. Not to say education isn't good. I think it's one of the biggest components of social mobility. But if you're hyper focused in a single thing, doesn't matter what it is. If you're hyper focused, you pigeonhole yourself to a single metric. I think it's always not a good idea. So I would tell myself that I'm worthwhile, I'm enough, and I'm capable. And then allow myself to kind of explore a little more on what's important to me. Allow myself to appreciate my family, my friends more instead of just constantly trying to study and get to the next step. I guess a more practical advice would be networking and then also be willing to take risks. Knowing that you're smart and that you're capable and taking calculated risks allows you to grow much faster. Like I don't think college or even education is necessary for a successful and happy life. And I think if someone is too focused on a single thing, like education, it um, can really deviate you from what makes you happy. So find out what's important, find out what you're capable of, and what you're good at, and then take calculated risks. Find the right people to hang out with, and be willing. Oh, and really focus on like personal growth, right? Taking all challenges and difficulties as a way to grow and become better. Um, I think that might be the main one.
Mhm. It's really interesting how the world changed from our parents' generation to ours. We were constantly taught that, education is very important. If you don't graduate, you won't become successful, you won't have money, you won't have a successful career and life, you won't be able to afford lots of things. And now a lot has changed, even for like social media, internet, and AI changed it a lot. And nowadays, even if you don't have formal education, you can still succeed, because it doesn't mean that you are not growing. It means that there are lots of tools. Education is more available to everyone who wants to find it, and the ways to make money is also different. You can make money like with thousands of ways
Yeah.
available to you. So that's interesting that
Yeah.
you
Let's talk more
mentioned it.
about that, right?
Yes.
I think a huge and segment into AI. I think a huge aspect of what AI brings to the world is democratizing intelligence and democratizing opportunities. And I think the internet itself is democratizing a lot of ways for you where you can grow, and a lot of sources for education, right? You don't have to be enrolled in a standard institution to get a lot of education. You can, you know, subscribe to Coursera. There's a ton of YouTube videos. Even your channel, Sirarpi, I think it's very valuable for teaching kind of marketing and freelance work. So you can get a lot of educations in a lot of places. You don't have to pay like, 200, 300K, $500,000 to be in debt for decades to get an education. So I agree. That's right. You can get education in a lot of different places. Um, AI is helping with democratizing knowledge and information to places and people who might not have the opportunity to do so, right? And it's democratizing a lot of cognitive capabilities. And I think that's the best thing about it. There are a lot of fears in the education community of not being able to educate people because you can just steal contents from what AI generates, right? I actually think differently. I think AI gives you, you still need to be able to prompt. You need to know what you need. You need to know what gets you what you need. You need to be able to assess and give feedback for AI to give you what you need, right? So I think it is outsourcing the lower level effort of actually writing stuff out and actually doing research. Um, but it's emphasizing on the higher level cognitive work of being able to provide feedback on what your intentions of your prompt are and how do you make sure you're getting the right information and breaking down a challenging task into smaller subtasks and then knowing what success metrics are for getting this problem solved. And then for each of the lower level subtasks, you can kind of outsource that to AI and go through that feedback loop, making sure it's exactly what you need, right? So I think like I said, you're outsourcing a lot of the fundamental ground level work to AI, but you're emphasizing now most of your effort is switched over to higher cognitive work of project planning, knowing what you need to know, how to break up complicated tasks, how to make sure how to measure if something is done well and done right, and a lot of the brainstorming and planning part, right? Which is again some of the higher cognitive efforts that's required. So I actually don't think it's gonna make um, people dumber. I think it's gonna make people the time spent in learning is gonna be moved towards higher cognitive abilities, and um, and it's gonna increase the productivity that we have by multiple folds, especially for people that can embrace AI in any facet of.
You are really tech savvy. I know that because I work with you. We like have a book club. We have interesting discussions and so on. So, and yes, during this time we use AI. We give these prompts. We help each other. Again, this is part of the networking and part of the learning process that is really appreciated. And because you know that you learn and grow from the people that surround you. And the Contact AI is based on AI. How do you think the future of this tool will benefit small, medium, and enterprise companies?
Good question. I think um, so. The Contact AI, I think there's three main pillars of features. One is the amount of exhaustive and comprehensive research the AI does on a lead in the leads company. Uh, and the research it does for your own company, right? The client that is actually using Contact AI. So knowledge, data, research from research, right? So that's number one. Number two is the automation, which reduces your operation costs and the amount of effort that you'll need, which is really important for small and medium businesses, right? Because they might not have the amount of time to dedicate to something like that. Um, and the third aspect of it is the personalization aspect. So not only are we personalizing um, in in extracting the signal from all the noise of making sure that the connection is genuine and aligned between two parties. Um, but it also personalizes and gives you recommendations on how you might be able to approach um, this lead during sales calls and during further human connections. but also personalizes your campaigns based on all of the prior clients we've had and all the prior experiences we had. Um, so I think for small and medium businesses, the automation helps a lot, and it will free up a lot of time. Um, for larger businesses, enterprises, or businesses that offer really high ticket products, it would improve the quality of your connections much more. Um, because they might have the amount of workforce to be able to get a lot of quantity of connections and leads, but then you're bottlenecked by the level of quality, right, to produce the best performing, the most performant kind of campaigns. Then we improve on the quality of connections and campaigns that you actually have. Um, yeah, yeah, and I think marketing is an industry that is extremely ripe for innovation and disruption using AI because of the amount of meta personalization that can be done, automation that can be done, while not sacrificing the quality of your connections. Yeah.
Mhm. You recently hired a virtual assistant. What platform did you use for that?
Uh, that was through just personal reference from my networks. Um, yeah.
See, networking. In my videos, I always tell people that networking is important. You need to do a good job, and then you ask people to refer you to others. If you do a good job, you
Mhm.
will be referred. So,
Voila. Yep.
what? But if you didn't have this connection, what would your go-to platform be? Do you have any idea, or do you just love reaching out to your
Probably
network?
I would prefer reaching out to my network first. I have a good network of kind of executives and C-suite people, and many of whom require personal assistance. So that's what I probably would do first. Yeah.
Key point for me from today is to network,
Yep.
network,
Yep.
network. Yeah. And to sum up, to finalize, is there anything else you would like to share today with us?
Um, no, I think we had a very good in-depth conversation, and I really appreciate you reaching out and setting this up. Um,
Thanks for joining. I
I
really
think,
love it.
yeah, yeah. Thank you, Sirarpi.